Hello and welcome to Leashed Dad's podcast. That is JJ.
That's JCD or Jared.
We are two leash dads that get together to discuss our everyday lives while changing our parental responsibilities. And tonight, a little bit of a future outlook. What are you looking forward to most as your kids get older? This is one that I have been pining after for a long time, especially as I, in my spare time, watch the movies that I think are essential viewing, but you need to be a bit older, and also music that is essential listening, but you should be a bit older to understand the complexity of said music. So let's get into it. JJ, what are you looking forward to the most as your kids get older? Do you want them
Absolutely nothing.
experience something that older kids can really appreciate?
I want them to experience everything and nothing.
Well,
No.
as
So
far as like manga and anime, there's a lot of stuff out there that little children probably should not be viewing. Would you want your kids to get into that kind of stuff?
they kind of already do. There has been points
Okay,
in their life where they have, um, they are exposed to it on a daily basis here,
obviously,
obviously.
as
Um,
expected.
yes. There's been a point where some of the kids were exposed to an anime called Black Clover. Now, granted,
Black
they
Clover.
only have like one season, but it's uh, about two little boys that were left on a home or a church step, and they grow up, and their goal or their like one dream is to become the Wizard King, which is somebody that's really highly revered within their kingdom, and that's their goal. So they're in two completely different sides of the things. By sides of things, for those that have already watched it or read it or anything like that, uh, they know that Asta is magicless or manaless. Sorry, he has no mana, no
Muggle.
magic. Basically, he's a Muggle. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and then his brother, in a sense, you know, is beyond powerful. Like mana is flowing out.
Mewtwo
All,
kind of powerful.
yeah, Mewtwo
Yep.
powerful. Thank you for putting it that way.
Yep.
He's Mewtwo powerful. He's just got mana flowing out of every orifice known to man. Uh, so, um, but as the story progresses, so they've shown some interest in that. Um, I think it all depends on what action. If it's more like action packed, they're not really into like the sexual things or anything like that. Which I know
No.
some of the anime manga that I've read or watched does have some explicit material like that, but it's we still try to keep it to a minimum. Uh, I would certainly like to see them get into that a little bit, but I also want to still see them develop their own interests, their own personalities as well. Through that, it will be discovering things that they really are into or what they're not into as well. So I think the big point here is I'm not going to force something onto them
Okay.
unless they really are, at first interested. Kind of the point, like how sports, right? Um, Kane is still going to do wrestling, but this earlier this year, the end of summer, beginning of school year, and everything, he wanted to watch his friend play a football game. I'm talking Pop Warner, so they're doing tackling and everything, right? So
Okay.
he's
Wow.
watching a third grader play tackle football, and now he wants to play. But the only thing here with him doing that is he wanted to try to play with his friend.
Mm,
There's a 3 year or 3 grade difference between the two.
yeah,
So I'm like,
that's a
sorry,
bit tricky.
as much as you want to do that, it's not gonna happen because of the grade discrepancy.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that pans out. I mean, if Kane wants to pursue football later on, sure, I'll let him do that. Or if he wants to continue, maybe do football during whatever, but then continue wrestling or whatnot, awesome. All in all, I'd rather have my kids do something they really are interested in, and that's kind of why or Sam and I have something in place where it's like they need to at least be doing something, such as some sort of sport once they turn 5. Now, we still got to find something out for Nico. I know we haven't really pushed forward onto it all too much yet, but first he showed interest. Like at one point, he showed his interest in wrestling. We, I wanted to talk to the club that Kane was part of or is part of. Um, no, I should say was part of because he stopped doing it for the remainder of the summer. Um, but found out that the only way they could do like a 5-year-old training is a 5-year-old part of the club out in Madison. Sorry, I'm not going to drive out to Madison one day a week. Not to mention that's the last day of the week or like the weekend Sunday just for him to do some training. It's okay. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to drive almost 2 hours to there to spend like an hour training and then 2 hours back home. Especially since
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's like it would be an all day adventure, which wouldn't be bad. But if he's not going to like it, it's not worth it for me to go out every single time and do that for him.
All right.
Rather
Well,
have him do
excuse me
something close to home.
while I bust your cojones here for a minute.
Oh
But
no.
what if he doesn't want to do any sports? Are you still gonna
Um,
push something on him?
Definitely gonna want to see him do something to get him outside or to get him out of the house. Not necessarily outside, but out of the house. So if he doesn't want to do a sport, fine. If he wants to do something like metal crafting club or something of that line, great. I will be more than happy to do that. Now, granted, I know most of the clubs don't come until like middle school or something, but
Boy
that's
Scouts and
about
Cub Scouts,
yeah. I mean,
elementary school.
Kane started showing interest in wanting to do Boy Scouts. I think it's a tad. Well, I won't say it's a tad too late. Anybody could really start. He's just going to be
Yeah.
behind a lot of the 12-year-olds or whatever at this point because they've probably maybe been doing it since whenever, like the Cub Scouts and everything. So, I mean, he's getting all these ideas from other people, which is good. I'm not going to say, hi, you didn't get this idea on your own. But at the same time, the only way you're going to find out if you're ever going to like something is by trying it. And he already likes to go do the outdoor stuff like camping and everything. I just think, from a personal opinion, he might not enjoy the work that comes with it. I
Mm.
could be wrong. I very well could be wrong, but it what I mean, I think he was like, "Oh yeah, you get to sell popcorn and it's like, $15 a box or whatever." Fortunately, it doesn't go to you; it goes to the organization. So, it's one of those things. Teaching him those things too where yeah, you get to go sell it as a fundraiser, but the fundraiser is for the organization to help them continue doing these events or helping keep the income going for other things that you will do throughout the year, like the Pinewood Derby, which that was always fun. I enjoyed doing that. I would help
Hell
him
yeah,
build a
dude.
car. I'd help him build
Yeah.
a car in a heartbeat. So yeah, if it came down to it and Nico didn't want to do anything, um, there would still be some sort of discussion. Sam and I would have to have obviously, but we'd have to find something that's going to help him get out of the house rather than being cooped up all day and doing nothing. Granted, he's always the kid that wants to go outside and play with the neighbors when they come over and whatnot. So I'm not too worried, but at the same time, still need to find something that's going to get him involved with some kind of sport just to try him out and see what he is interested in. Because a missed opportunity, you never have an opportunity if you never take it. So, what about you and your girls? I mean, talked a lot about my boys. Nora's still too young to even consider, um,
Right.
to a degree.
Oh, well, I am driven by my love of music and movies and TV shows. As you know, I am not a sports fan. I don't
Yep.
see the point per se. I like philosophizing and reading books and all that other stuff. So, what I am most looking forward to, and it's already starting to show, is their love of music. They are
Good.
already requesting CDs. They are already requesting better and bigger sound systems in their room, which is bizarre. I did not spark that at all, but it's a
Are you
thing.
sure? Are you sure you didn't spark that at all with their
No, I don't talk to them about my
thirst?
setup at all. They might be like jealous just or something. I don't know, but I don't talk
Well,
to them
they
about
see
it at
it,
all. I mean,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's probably where they get it from. You don't have to talk about it. Remember, it's something they see and they go, "Oh, that's cool. I want to be like
yeah,
Dad."
maybe. But so I grew up relatively the same way, and that's probably why I'm pushing or not pushing, but hoping they turn out the same way, just because I can relate to them easier. And that's all about parenting is that you can find a way to relate to your kids as they're teenagers and adulthood. So a little bit of a personal story. My dad constantly played their own music. My mom was and is like the 80s hair metal, Def Leppard, um, another big one like White Snake, and a little unknown band called Damn Yankees. But without getting too far into what Damn Yankees is,
Hmm.
so she was more of a rock, hard rock kind of thing, and my dad was the '60s hippie generation as well as yacht rock and everything that goes with that. And I like how you say you don't want to push your kids. My dad never really pushed me into liking
Hmm.
certain music, except there were times when he would play something and say, "You really should get into this. You really should like this.
Hmm.
This is good music." And of course, I said, "No, this is shit." Because that was the era of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney Spears and all that stuff. And the band that he was trying to get me into was Steely Dan.
Hmm.
And it took me a good 7 years to finally appreciate what Steely Dan was without,
See,
figuring it out on my own and not having somebody telling me what is good and, I should like it.
I mean, you were exposed to it once, and I say once very
No, I
loosely.
was
I
repeatedly.
say
I mean, he would
loosely.
put it
I say
on.
loosely. You were
Yeah.
exposed to it. Okay, I will retract it and just say you were exposed to it. There was maybe slight forcing into liking it at first, but it was more of an exposure kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it took years after that to appreciate something. And sometimes that's what it really comes down to, is as much as how I said I don't want to force people or push my kids into liking something or doing something. I want them to still be exposed to it. So whether it be music, whether it be a sport, um,
Manga.
whether it be manga, anime, whatever, whether it be playing card games, like trading card games or whatnot, have them have that a little exposure and let them learn about that. I mean, for crying out loud, Arlo, um, he wants to do Pokemon battles. Now, granted, I think this is like when I talk Pokemon battles, I'm talking about like trading card game Pokemon battles.
Yeah.
But I think
PCG. Yep.
yeah, TCG, he wants to do that with me, which one I think it's a great bonding opportunity that he's looking for. Um, so I'm not going to complain. And then and then he wants to play on my phone. He wants to play the TCG game on my phone. I let him. Then he asked me, "Can I make a deck?" I'm like, "How about you master a deck first before you try to make your
Right.
own deck? Master
Okay, we're
a
gonna get nerdy,
pre-made
folks.
deck."
Here. Yeah, we're gonna get nerdy. So around Antonio was like 12 or 11 years old, he was starting to build a deck, right?
Yep.
And he wanted to have me build, complete my deck. And I flat out said, dude, my deck is from the late 90s to early 2000s. There's no way my deck is going to compare to what the modern one would do. There,
Yeah.
I think it's a completely different game, isn't it? I mean,
Um. So yes, it is definitely a different game where the decks from like the 90s and everything had just basic abilities,
yeah, the basic
Pokemon.
is shit.
Like your Charizard, for example, fully like from Charmander to from Charmander to Charizard had 320 health
Yeah.
or whatever it was, and now you've got a basic Pokemon that has 120 some health, but at the same time, it's got this. It's called, it could be, just pull out an example here, Lugia V. So the cards itself is called Lugia V, um, which can be evolved into a V Max, which a V or V Max or even an EX or whatever, they have special rules that once they are defeated, your opponent gets to take 2 prize cards. Back before any of those rules came out, it was you take out one Pokemon at a time
Yep.
and you get a prize card.
Hmm.
First one to clear their board of all 6 prize cards wins. Or again, if your opponent runs out of cards or has no active Pokemon or a bench Pokemon anymore, yes, those are still in effect. But now you've got ways to like you've got you play more of a risky behavior by saying, okay, I'm going to use these V or EX Pokemon, and then if they get defeated or crushed in battle, now my opponent's getting a reward by getting 2.
Yeah.
Or if they have another card sometimes that they play, they can get a third one, like an
Yeah.
extra one. So it's like, yeah. So the rules have changed. Some of the abilities have, I mean, most of the Pokemon abilities are still very, you know, close there. They still have they still have your sleep, your paralysis, your poison, your burn,
But attack
things of
points
that.
versus new HP is crazy. I
I,
mean,
I mean, they
the
still have
max.
them equaled out.
Yeah, I mean the max. The biggest attack points that I ever got with a card was Blaine's Arcanine. Like I forgot what the attack was, but it was 120 damage, which was the
Yeah.
maximum at the time for the cards. So I thought I was pretty hot shit when I got that in my deck, but it it doesn't match up to today. So I
Yeah,
rather find
120
something.
damage. Blaine's Arcanine, 120 damage, only has 90 hit points,
Yeah,
but
it's not great.
it can do it. You discard 3 fire energy cards attached to Blaine's Arcanine in order to use the attack. Otherwise, you had Heat Tackle, which is Blaine's Arcanine does 40 damage to itself. So, I mean, yeah, they still have that type of system out there where some cards will do damage to themselves. Other cards, you have to discard energy cards in order to use them as well. But, I mean, that right there, a Blaine's Arcanine only had 90 HP.
Yeah,
Use an
I know.
attack that does 40 damage to its opponent, but then you do 10 damage to yourself. You're down to 80 HP,
The
or you
moral of the
stack up.
story is, folks, if you want your kids to get into stuff, make sure you're up to date with the modern,
Yeah,
stuff that's within it. Like music, for example. If I want my kids to get into music, I'm gonna have to accept that they might like a modern
garbage music.
artist where I might think they're garbage. Just like I'm sure there are people out there who think classic Pokemon cards are only good for collector and not actual gameplay. It's probably the truth.
It is the truth because most of the
Okay,
cards
well,
out
it
there
is the
nowadays
truth.
have. If you want to be in a competitive atmosphere, you have to follow the rules where they do have like it's an alphabet system where they have like cards that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, things like that. And there are cards in rotation and out of rotation. So like a certain letter might be out of the rotation for now. So any of those cards are technically illegal to play with. Unless you're playing in like just an expanded universe where any deck is viable. But that's more casual play. But if you're trying to do things and become competitive, for example, yes, you have to abide by the league rules at that point. So,
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
yeah, that bonding experience obviously didn't work, but I tried to get into Legos with him, but again, it was just a hit and a miss because he would put together these amazing sets and destroy them the next day. I mean, yes, that's what Legos is pretty much all about, but as a collector, it's just difference of opinion, because if you have a set that's worth, not worth anything really, but if you have a set that's dedicated to a certain genre or movie or whatever, why would you want to destroy it and just put it in with the rest of your bin? You know what I'm saying?
It drove me nuts. I did it too. But I mean, if you think of it this way, there is another way or another thing you can do too. It's a little more time consuming, but if you do ever do that and you throw all your Legos into one bin together, you could always take the instruction manual and find out what pieces you need.
Ugh,
Like I said, it's
that
time
that sounds
consuming.
like a nightmare.
My cousin at one point started doing that because I think
Oh,
I think he was trying to sell his Legos or whatever, or
okay.
just make sure he had all the pieces together. So he was going through each set that he had. Like you keep the instruction manuals, right?
Yeah,
And
I
he was
do. We
going through
do.
each and every set that he had, making sure he had all the pieces for it. So again, time consuming, especially since at one point he was building like a Lego city, and the Lego city never really took off. But he had like the Millennium Falcon. We had ships built in his basement and everything. Like we didn't just make up shit. We took the instructions, built off the instructions or whatnot. So I think that's something else I'd love to get my kids into though is Legos. Um, there has been a little bit of interest, but not enough where they want to build on their own.
Okay.
At one point, when Kane and Sean were younger, there was a little interest in that, and I had built like Ninja Turtle Legos for them. But now there's like now the other kids have no interest at all, um, which is fine. You know, it's I think Legos would be a great constructive thing. Excuse me, folks. Nah, it would be a great constructive thing for them. But also, I mean, more of the idea thing too, right? You don't have to necessarily build off of the set. If you
Right.
have a crap ton of different assorted Legos, you could definitely use those. Um, so let them discover what they want too. That's kind of another thing that I
Yeah.
want to do.
I mean, I really do want to sit down and watch, a movie that my wife and I think is really, really good, and have them experience. And they're into movies too, and just having them
Mm-hmm.
experience kind of the same emotions and thoughts that we did when we first saw the movies too. That's
Yeah.
what I'm kind of really looking forward to, and that's what sparked this conversation. It's like I can't wait until they're old enough where we can sit and just put in a movie, doesn't care what the rating is or what's in it, just even if it's as adults, just watch
Mm-hmm.
it, you know.
So you're gonna be one of those parents that don't put rate or you don't prevent your child from watching a rated R movie as a young
No, no, I
child.
will. No, that's what I said. Even if they're adults,
You said
like
you didn't
even
care
if
about
they're
ratings
17,
though.
18, watching Superbad with dad.
Well, they're 17, 18 at that point, and Superbad is rated R. But I'm talking about like right now. Would you let them watch Deadpool?
Hell no.
See,
Hell no, I would not. No, absolutely
just
not.
making sure there's still some boundaries out there, right? You know, because yes, rated R movies. I mean, there are some rated R movies that really aren't that bad. They're just rated R because they have maybe a lot of violence and some nudity. Whereas, why would you not let your kid watch a rated R movie?
Language, violence, and sexual content.
Okay, very similar as to why we wouldn't either, right? Even we don't even let our 12 year we don't want our 12-year-old watching like Deadpool. Yes, he's watched it already, um, under other people, not at our house or anything like that, but he's watched it, and we were
Not
not
only is it
thrilled about that.
inappropriate for that age, but you also don't get a lot of the jokes. You're not going to appreciate it at a young age. That's just my opinion, though. You're not
Yeah.
going to get a lot of the humor and jokes that is in those kind of movies if you're a 12-year-old watching it. I'm just saying.
Sometimes I don't even get some of the jokes that are in some of these rated R, in some of the rated R movies. It's not even the fact that it just goes over my head. It's just like you gotta remember, when was the movie made? Was it a remake? Did the
Oh,
remake have
yeah.
up to date stuff as well, or did they try to go you know, like Total Recall, right? That's an older movie. They remade it back in like, you haven't seen the newest Total Recall or the
Any of
remade
them?
Total Recall?
Both.
No. Oh, I mean, the first Total Recall, they go off to
Arnold.
Mars, right? Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. They go to Mars and whatnot. The new one, they don't really go to Mars. They stay on the same planet, but they have like a different area for like the wealthy versus the non-wealthy, essentially. So they do make their own, they make changes. They try to modernize it a little bit, maybe make it, I won't say not realistic. I mean, at the time going to Mars would be great, right? And it's still, I think, something that we as a species, as a human race, are trying to do, is find a suitable secondary planet to live on.
Instead of saving the one we're on, yes.
Yeah, instead of saving the one we're on, maybe we'll save the one we're on by moving to a freaking another planet, only to destroy that planet, only to move back and fuck up this planet.
Wally.
Yeah, Wally. Never seen it, and I don't plan on watching it.
Why? Oh my god, you've never
It
seen
is just
Wally?
it is just one of those Disney movies I cannot get into. I can't.
I said that for a long time too, and then I sat down and watched it, and now it's one of my favorites.
So cute.
I all through college
I'm
is like that movie's shit. There's no talking in it. Come on, come on.
the reason why I don't want to watch it because there is no talking in it.
For like the first hour, yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's almost kind of like Up, for crying out loud. Like
Oh, I loved Up from the first time I
for the
saw it.
first 5-10 minutes, it's like 5-6 lines. And then it's all just this little montage of the two getting older, getting married, and then it bam. Half hour into the movie, now you've got freaking what's his face talking to Storm, saying "fuck off, child," or "I'm leaving. I'm gonna go do my wife's dream and try to live on the freaking
So you're
waterfall."
saying you're not a fan of Up?
No, Up isn't bad.
Okay.
Up actually has words,
Yeah.
where Wally, what you're saying, has no words at all. It's just a robot
For
going
the first
around
hour.
yeah, for the first hour. It's a robot going around the freaking planet or whatever, a trash world. It's recycling the shit because everything is fucked up. Humans fucked up the planet. Summarize the movie.
No, you didn't.
You No, you're right. I didn't. But a good portion of the movie is Wally driving around or floating around looking for whatever. It's
You should
just
watch it. Just
no, I don't
you
want
should
to.
watch it.
I would rather watch Inside Out 2, which is out for anybody that cares. Inside Out 2 is out on Disney, and I really want to watch it now. I
Go
saw it in a
ahead.
movie theater, but I really want
I
to go
did
watch
too.
it again. I
Maybe
loved it.
I'll get a different perspective or something. I don't know. I like
Yeah,
the first
it's
one better.
yeah. First one's probably still good, better than the second one, but I still want to watch it again just because anxiety was definitely a great depiction of what anxiety really is. So yeah.
All right.
Anything else you want to put about child in their futures or what you want to see them do in their future at all?
No, I really also can't wait for them to ride in the front seat with me. That's awesome.
Mm.
That's a special thing.
Yeah, it is a special thing. You actually think there should be I mean, I know there are certain guidelines that are in place, right? Like I honestly think that my 12-year-old son is still a little too small to be sitting in the front seat, but we let him do it anyways. I don't know. To me personally, he probably should still be in a booster, but we're not putting him in a booster. It just looks silly. He's 12 years old and weighs like
Yeah.
60 pounds. You know, guidelines are guidelines, folks. Um, my daughter Nora will eventually be forward facing, probably in 3 months when she actually turns 2. Not anytime sooner. I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing some other things about maybe my kids will want to take on like a foreign language and become a
Yeah.
master of a foreign language. That would be great. Be
Das
able to
gut,
have a
ja.
Shut the fuck up. Stop speaking German. Sprechen the Deutsch. But hope future is what the future is. So nothing is ever set in stone until it happens. even then, there's always the butterfly effect. So hopefully everything, whatever the children decide. I mean, yes, we as parents probably, there's a small amount where we do push a little bit of what we wish we could have done as children onto them. But I mean, I see that in some parents more than I see it in others. I don't want to be that parent that pushes my dreams or hopes onto my
No,
kids because I'd rather have them live their lives and how they want to. Well, I do aspire that to have them do what they want, uh, but also enjoy doing it. If they stop enjoying doing something, it's fine as long as they find something else as a substitute or something of another to keep them entertained. I mean, I have. I'll be honest. I have crushed. Uh, like Sam and I've crushed one child's dream of wanting to become a content creator. I'm like, nah, nope. Like I get it. The money can be there, but that market is so saturated already
I
that I
know.
think it'd be very
Trust me.
difficult to. Why? No, yeah, we know, and we're yeah. As I say, I was gonna say it in different words, but that's well put. So we're working on it, folks. Stay with us. Help us out. Get those. Spread the word of mouth. You know, help the parenting community. Help the leash dads and their small community become a bigger community. Help your community. We don't even know if you don't like it. Yeah. We we're not mind readers. We would be. I don't want to be a mind reader. That'd just be too much of a hassle. Hearing everybody's thoughts. That's just no. I think that'd put more stress on me in the long run than anything. So it sounds like a terrible superpower now that I think about it. How much stressed you can be if you could read people's minds. Or more or less if you're a mind reader without being able to control whose mind you read and whatnot. If it was like, yep, I'm a mind reader, but I have to listen to everybody's thoughts all the time. I'd hate having that power. But folks, yeah, let us know if there's something you would like us to do different. If there's something you want, like kick one of us out. I'm kidding, that's never gonna happen. Just let us know. We can't make changes if you don't provide the feedback. Anyways, folks, have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. We will see you all next time for another episode of Leash Dad's podcast. Sweet baby Jesus, it's doing it again.